Welcome to the BBC Breakfast 30th Anniversary National Lottery Draw with John and Sally.
Ready, everyone? Here we go. Release the balls.
Release the balls.
Just going to point out, everyone at home getting excited with your lottery tickets, this isn't the real one. We're just doing this for fun. I don't know, could we have a little whip round and maybe offer 50p to the winner? I'm not sure we can even do that.
Let's do it.
It's just like the old days. I love it.
You can be Anthea, I'll be Noel. Number one.
Number one?
Would you believe it? Number one is number one. 31. Shall I be Alan Dedicoat?
Oh, go on, be Alan Dedicoat.
36.
Very good. Oh, you're good at this.
39. That was always one of my numbers.
Was it?
Yeah.
39? Was there a thinking behind 39? 44.
44.
44 was one of the numbers drawn in the first ever draw.
13. Unlucky for some, but lucky for someone tonight. And the bonus ball.
22. I like the music.
Oh, that memories.
I love that. Did you know, where do you think is the luckiest place in Britain for the lottery? Do you know?
I don't know, not where I live. Where is it?
Birmingham.
Is it really? More winners?
Second place, Belfast.
Ah, interesting.
We need to move.
I really hoped number 30 was going to come on the 30th anniversary.
Oh, yes.
It was apparently the first ball to come out in the very first draw, but not today. Not
today. Well, our reporter Tim Muffett has been delving into the archives and looking back at the history of the lottery.
Release the balls.
November 1994. The UK was gripped by the National Lottery. And it could be you.
Maybe I'm lucky this time.
An hour later, the Prime Minister was buying a ticket.
Well, what was going through my mind was, please God, I mustn't win.
On the night of the first draw, a TV spectacular. Risk assessment redefined by Noel Edmonds.
In the rear of this high-security truck, we've got the centrepiece of the National Lottery, the draw machine. And we're taking no chances with security, because I'm also driving the jackpot cash.
On location, Anthea Turner.
Queuing up for last-minute tickets.
You were part of a movement. You were part of hysteria.
22 million people tuned in to the first live lottery draw, although the man whose government had introduced the lottery wasn't one of them.
I was out making a speech. It was that time of life, really. So, no, I wasn't. But I did record it, and I did see the excitement that surrounded it.
What was going through your mind at that time? Because the whole nation was gripped by it.
What was running through my mind was, I am the only person ever who buys a lottery ticket who does not want to win. There have been a million conspiracy theories about how it was all fixed.
Why did you believe that a national lottery was something that the UK needed?
Well, it wasn't a new idea for me. In the 1980s, I was responsible for public expenditure, and I negotiated it for all departments in government. And I noticed when I was doing that there was never any money for the arts, culture, sport, charities, things that people really care about. And I had been looking for something that would provide money from the people, for the people, for the people's interests.
There were some dissenting voices, weren't there? Some religious groups were against it, thinking it would encourage gambling. How seriously did you take those dissenting voices? And did you ever think that they might be strong enough to stop the lottery being created?
No, I didn't. There were quite a few dissenting voices in the cabinet, in Parliament, and across the country. But when the churches complained, when they realised that church roofs might qualify, I think it diminished the opposition.
Do you worry at all that it has encouraged people to gamble?
The argument that it was encouraging gambling is really a fairly silly argument. Of course, people can take gambling to extremes, but the vast number of people who bet on the National Lottery bet in small sums, and the collective effect of it has been absolutely huge for the good causes that the lottery supports.
Go! And the first ever!
For the first show, and for the first 6 months, the presenter read out the numbers.
And the first one will be coming out now. It's green. And it is number 30.
So what's the fact about number 30?
30 years of the National Lottery.
In 1995, Alan Dedicoat got a call.
Welcome to the Television Centre in London for the 29th National Lottery Live.
I used to be one of those people who at a minute to 6 and a minute to 7 would enthuse about Thursday night on BBC One begins with Top of the Pops. Then at 7:30, there's Trouble at the Queen Vic in EastEnders. So I had to add a bit of zhuzh to it. So that's when I introduced the, how many times they'd been drawn.
He's number 21. Been bonus twice before, drawn tonight for the 6th time. This could make you a multi-millionaire tonight.
You are changing people's lives. Someone out there is going to win big. It was just nice to know that they'd found out about how they'd won from me.
Were there any times when things went wrong?
My worst night, in a way, was Millennium Night.
Dale, how's it looking?
Well, Alan, at the moment it's looking a bit tricky, I have to say.
Draw machines were behind two big screens. Peter Snow had just been describing all the problems of Y2K for us, and had put his clicker down, like the weather people have, and it had gone underneath the two screens, and they wouldn't part.
Hello, Dale, if you go up there, we can do the draw up there, I think, if you move up towards the machines together.
Okay, my lovely.
My mother had told me there'd be nights like that, but I didn't believe her.
Once launched, Anthea Turner took over as the main lottery presenter.
I still feel really proud to have been part of the lottery. As those balls are coming out, you know that somewhere in the country, somebody's life is going to change forever.
1, 21, 29, 30.
We didn't think lightly of that at all, because as the years of the lottery went on, we met a lot of those people. I met so many winners, happy winners. Winners who were doing so much with their money for their families. And let's look at the Olympics. Let's look at sport. Sport has benefited so much from the National Lottery.
It's not the big talking point, which it once was. Why do you think that is?
Well, because it's familiar. It's part of the landscape now. People take it for granted. There's a lottery just like there's a Sunday in every week.
There are lots of different lotteries now as well, aren't there? Much smaller ones. Do you think that's kind of diluted the impact of it?
Well, it's bound to have a small impact, and it has had an impact, I dare say. But the National Lottery is the only truly national lottery. If it continues to produce the resources it has in the past for the good causes, then we can improve the way of life for millions of people in this country, not just now, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and 30 years from now.
Is this your proudest achievement?
Of course, in any parliamentary period, there are things that go wrong. But among the things that went right, I think the Northern Ireland Peace Agreement is quite high. I think the fact that we changed during that one parliament from being deeply in recession to having a growth of 3.5%, which seems fairly beyond immediate expectations, perhaps for some time to come. They're quite things I'm quite proud of as well. But certainly the lottery is up there with them.
Thank you for taking part in a bit of television history.
On its 30th birthday, the National Lottery no longer attracts millions of viewers, but it does still allow millions to dream that it could be you. Tim Muffett, BBC News.
Still could be.
Never was so far for me.
No.
So far, the National Lottery has raised £50 billion. Huge amount of money for good causes. And let's speak now to three-time Olympic gold medalist Max Wicklock. Lovely to see you.
You too.
You were, 1 year old when it started?
I was, yeah, 31 years old now. So I think, yeah, when you say about raising 50 billion, I think that milestone is absolutely huge, and what it's done for sport has been incredible.
So what's been the impact on you personally, do you think?
So I think for me, throughout my journey, we become a funded sport probably about halfway through that period of time, and it was an absolute game changer for our sport. We experienced kind of what it can do for an athlete in terms of surrounding the athlete with everything that an athlete needs to be just an athlete. And I think that's what's really important. We're trying to compete against the rest of the world, and having the support with the facilities, with the team, everything that surrounds what an athlete needs, it's there and we're catered for. And I think that's why we're being able to kind of produce results after results. And that has an amazing trickle effect, because that brings a lot of inspiration to inspire the younger generation. Participation absolutely rockets, and it's almost like a never-ending cycle that, the National Lottery have, made a huge impact in.
So what about you personally? Do you think that, you've got some of your amazing medals here with us. Yeah. Feel free to show them to our viewers because they're fantastic. To what extent do you think your golds are a direct result of this thing that started when you were a tiny baby?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that it's had a huge impact on that and made everything like that possible for not just me, but for actually majority of athletes out there to receive that kind of support from an early age. you know, when I started in the sport, I was fortunate enough that my family said that if gymnastics is what you want to do, we'll support you. But that's not there for most people. And actually, you know, being able to then funding be introduced, it take it to a new level where you can then start strategizing and planning where we can go and how we can utilize it to make sure we're best prepared for competitions, best prepared in the right situations to make sure we're peaking at the right time. And now we're in a position now where, as a nation, we're a very, very strong sporting nation, which you take it back quite a few years, we wasn't, but now we are.
So that works really well if you are, you know, hugely talented and you're aiming to win gold medals. But also it's had an impact for families and kids particularly who just want to have a go 100%. At something. And is that something you see now in the work that you do?
Yeah, I see it day in, day out. You know, I'm involved in a gym club where we have children coming in as young as 2 years old. So I think it's also about, you know, supporting at grassroots. That's something that's really important to me. But also important to the national lottery. It's got to be a never-ending cycle where we're not just focusing on the kind of elite level now and trying to make sure that results are coming in. It's actually what that impact can have, how it can support the younger generations and keeping sport going for the next however many years, all the way into the future. I think that's what's really important, to see that support's there. I have a little girl that does 6 to 7 different sports throughout the week and, you know, trying to give as many opportunities, but knowing that the support's there in each of those sports to know that, you know, it can take you towards the best you can try and be in any sport you go into. And we have that support in our country. And yeah, I think, you know, every athlete would say the same, that we owe a huge thank you to National Lottery for what they do give us throughout our careers.
You mentioned your little girl. How good is she at sport?
Yeah, she's good. She's trying to hand at loads of different things. So like I said, she's a very busy girl with 6 to 7 different sports throughout the week. So kind of never stops. But I think, and obviously gymnastics is a big part of that, but so is every other sport. So yeah, I love it. Just giving more opportunities is the best way.
And also, she's incredibly lucky because she's actually been able to witness you win stuff, which doesn't happen for lots of athletes, does it?
Yeah, I mean,
what's that like?
That feels really good. I think that was the proudest feeling going to the last Olympic Games and Willow being able to be in the audience and see it. I think that's a kind of a different type of inspiration, but a really kind of proud feeling for me to be able to do that. And one of my dreams, and that's why I kind of tried to carry on with my sport for as long as I possibly could, so should get that opportunity.
And am I right that one of the reasons, the key reasons for you deciding to stick with it in Paris and be there for the Olympics was so that she could watch you, she could be there?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I wanted to carry on. I pushed it in the sport for a long time. I'm now a retired athlete, which seems very strange, but the opportunity to kind of make my 4 Olympics in Paris, but actually have my family, have Willow out there. Tokyo wasn't possible because it was the COVID Games, obviously, but Paris was a very different story, and just to be able to have that point in the audience where I can look up and see my little girl watching. She thinks I'm a superhero, so I'm hoping that I can keep it like that for as long as possible.
You are!
That's lovely. Of course she does. You are, yes. Yeah. Max, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you.
Great to see you. Great to see you. Now, it's coming up to 8:30.